All right, yo, 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 yo. What's up, what's up, what's up? Give up the rock. And hello to my fellow revolutionaries. You know who you are. So, on this Friday, can I just say, the eve of the weekend, a most sacred time on the calendar of the working week, the most sacred time on the calendar of the working class, the weekend, a time to which capital cannot touch us. So, woke up so late. How is it already 11? You believe it. Believe it. It is that time of the day already. Time for your favorite revolutionary and working class stream on the MysterE channel, part of the MysterE movement. And 4IS says, yo, 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 what's up, give up the Dwayne, obviously referring to The Rock. And as 4IS has aptly said, and beaten me to it, which I say is a little bit rude, but like I'll take it anyway, I would like to say to you, all of you listening out there, I would like to pay my respects to workers, past, present, and emerging. You, working class people, those of you who sell your labor power to anyone, whether that be a capitalist or any other person, any entity, if you sell your labor power, it is on your back that capitalist society is being built, and it is your predecessors of the working class to which you owe the world that you see around you. It is their labor that the world has been built up until now, and it will be built in the future on the backs of working people. And so, as 4IS has said, we pay our respects to workers past, present, and emerging. And I would like to say to you, like I was getting to before, that we should all acknowledge this sacred time, the eve of the weekend, a time, a very, very special time to working people where capital cannot touch us. So if that is you, and you have some type of actual working conditions, and you actually are entitled to a weekend, workers fought hard for that. So enjoy your weekend. And like, if you can't escape the clutches of capital and the wage labor system and you have to work, I hope you get good conditions and you get penalty rates and you get heavily compensated for the fact that you have to work on your weekend. Ollie Atlas is here. The roll call is being done, and it's good to see you, Ollie Atlas. And Irfan says, and if you have the day off cause of an RDO, thank your union. Hell yes. There it is. There's a lot to be thankful for there, might I add. There's a lot to say about, thanking your union. Now, we had a very frank conversation about unions the other day, which I actually really liked, might I say. I thought it was very apt to have that conversation. Sorry, I just got technical issues over here. Give me a second. I'm trying to get the ye old TikTok running at the same time, and it's floundering a little bit, I must say. It's very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. Give me a moment. I'm going to try and figure this one out. Can I just say to anyone who's listening on TikTok, it's about to die. So thanks anyway for tuning into the TikTok, but I think it's about to get taken off. So it was fun while it lasted. I will continue to figure out these technical issues. But like, yeah, thank you for joining me, TikTok audience. We are on YouTube. So if you're watching this on TikTok and you actually want to watch the actual live stream, you can go over to YouTube. My link's in my bio. So you can have a look at that over that if you want. If you're really interested. Because I can't fix the issue over here. I'm sorry. Which is really unfortunate. Because I actually have some people watching on TikTok at the moment. I just can't fix this problem. Bastard. All right. Where were we? Where were we? Oh, good. I found it funny. All the blue MAGA in your comment section on the Bernie video. All the ad hominem attacks. Yeah, it's been actually rather interesting, hasn't it? 4AS, seeing what's going on in blue MAGA land. Now, for any of you who are listening to this, are just like, what the hell does blue MAGA mean? Blue MAGA is actually a derogatory slur that is used by people on the left to attack liberals in America who show the same adoration of Democrat politicians that they complain about MAGA types, conservatives and right wingers showing for figures like Trump and other conservative politicians. So they on the one hand criticize liberals, these liberals apparently, they criticize people for loving Trump and following him blindly, even though he does things that are contradictory and obviously not serving the interests of average Americans, but they'll follow him anyway because he's Donald Trump. But then Democrats do the same sort of shit when it comes to their leaders. This was a derogatory term that arrived. It was actually earlier than that. It started actually in 2016 just to be a kind of a hashtag kind of movement against the original red MAGA. And so people started saying blue MAGA in support of starting a movement that was in the antithesis of the actual MAGA movement. And then it took on a new life around the time of Biden and Trump's kind of election campaigns in the lead up to the 2024 presidential election. And then people started referring to blue MAGA as anyone that just showed this support for Biden, despite the fact that he was obviously not very popular and was failing, I guess, in the expectations people had for him as the president of the United States. And so people started using it as a slur to call out any type of liberal or Democratic voter that just would follow Biden or any type of political figure, liberal political figure, with the same ardent adoration that a Trump supporter would follow, and they criticize those Trump supporters of the same. So they're highlighting, I guess, the hypocrisy. And so blue MAGA has become, a slur for people, I guess, that just unreasonably support the Democrats at all costs. And so I recently put out a video where we looked at Bernie Sanders and his Fight the Oligarchy tour, and an example from that Fight the Oligarchy tour where he had kind of turned away and pretended that a situation was unfolding at one of his rallies where some protesters put a Palestinian flag over the top of the American flag and then were arrested, I guess, or taken out by security. And everybody was supporting these people putting up the Palestinian flag and were booing the security guards and for taking them away. And Bernie Sanders did nothing. And it was really fucking awkward. He did nothing about it. And the rest is history kind of thing. And we were just highlighting the fact that, it's unfortunate that he as a populist figure, didn't use that occasion to really stir the hearts and minds of those people that obviously turned up at a Stop the Oligarchy tour, Fight the Oligarchy tour, because they care about these types of issues. And this was a perfect opportunity for him as an actual populist to, like I said, capture the hearts and minds of the people. And he didn't do that. He kind of awkwardly tried to stay on script and get everyone back on course about what he was talking about. It was obvious that there was a political expression, a form of political expression going on in the audience, and the entire audience was getting behind it, and he just kind of let it slide, and it was really fucking awkward. And can I just say, like, someone like Trump wouldn't have let that slide. Like, he would have used that to his advantage somehow. And like, he would, he would have relished the opportunity to capitalize on an opportunity like that. And Bernie Sanders didn't. He just stuck to script, and like, it just adds to this kind of growing understanding that he really is very establishment, and there's really nothing that he does that's kind of detached too far from the whims of the Democratic Party, despite the fact that he's an independent senator and, like, he kind of votes on particular issues, raises certain bills, and like he does fight for working class interests. His marriage to the Democratic Party becomes an inhibitor in people's ability to take what he stands for outside of that seriously. And like, it looks rather hypocritical sometimes, and it's unfortunate because he has a lot of power, or he has a lot of influence. And like, the longer he stays attached to the Democratic machine in a time where the Democratic machine has been absolutely called into question in terms of its validity now in the face of such an onslaught from the Republican party, like, they're really soul searching, and like, you would need people to stand up and set some new standards. And he has, it seemed like he had an opportunity to do that, and he didn't. He didn't let that happen at all. Indoctrinathan, that's a sick name, can I just say? I wonder if someone's changed their name or there's two Nathans in one stream, which would be overwhelming, but we'll go with it. Yeah, look, it's not a great look considering his reaction to a New Zealand flag at his 2020 I wonder what that was. I don't recall that. And anyway, so for a really long rant there, but 4AS is referring to the idea of Blue MAGA. And that's what Blue MAGA is, if you were wondering. If you were of the wonders, that's what I'm referring to anyway. Okay, let's see. Oh, NZ. Okay, right, sorry. I got it. The other word that has N and Z in it. All right, let me check. La corde. Le corde of the D's. Let's have a look, see, shall we? Where'd you put it in? Censored comments? Oh, what did you say, Ollie Atlas? You got done already? Like, it's got to be a record for you. Dems and Reps are both blindly devoted to the same system and don't realize it. I think that's a good point, actually. Also, sorry about the misstream name change. No, that's fine. It's actually a good name. I wish I had thought of that. Let's have a look-sees here. I assumed it was you, Nafan. You mysterious character, you. All right, let's have a look at this one. Shush. Wait. I haven't changed scenes yet. Calm down. Calm down, Bernie. Calm down. All right, here it is. Ready?
Tonight, let me thank the Red.
Those are proper boos.
Whoever it was, I think they're a little outnumbered tonight.
What happened? We didn't see it. Let's go back.
Well, let me thank all of you for coming out tonight. Let me thank the Red.
I didn't show the flag, so you don't have to worry about it. Already glitching. Ah, really? Oh, I wanted to see the flag. Like, can you not? Can you get? Oh, am I getting done already? No, it's not that. When you say already glitching, are you saying that my stream's bad? Or are we referring to something else, Ollie Atlas? Because my internet is completely screwed. I should actually give everyone a warning right now. Yesterday on the stream, it was horrible. There's problems with my modem apparently. I was actually going to call off the stream, but I was like, fuck it, let's just see how far I can get. We got kicked off like 3 or 4 times yesterday, and it was just awful. But like, I'm hoping today my internet survives for the time that we're all together. But yeah, I didn't know that, like, showing a Nazi flag on like a video or something like that would be, breaching anything, especially if it's historical, like some neo-Nazi group or something. The screen glitched a bit and the visibility was turned gray a little bit there. Yeah, sometimes it dips out and like that does happen. So I do apologize. For the low quality, I'm struggling right now. I spent, after yesterday's stream, I spent probably about 2 hours on the phone with my internet service provider. That was fun. Bastards. And they're going to send me out a new modem, apparently, because they can't locate the problem. You can see the flag briefly. But like, what, his reaction wasn't great? Is that what you're referring to there? Let's have a look at this one. It's unavailable. Contains some storyful mani. What does that mean? Just show the goddamn clip. Boo ads. Oh, up the top there. Fucking boo. That's hilarious. See how he said that? See how he was like, oh, look, they're outnumbered and everyone cheers, like, kind of thing? He missed a golden opportunity as a populist to do the same thing, I believe. My humble opinion, ladies and gentlemen, with that whole Palestinian flag. Like, he could have had them fucking everyone there eating out of the palm of his hand. And, like, I'm not saying that like he's up against the entire establishment and it's like potential suicide to do that politically, but he's fucking 83 years old. Like, he's not like, middle-aged or something like that and has another 20 years under his belt where he can do some political damage from within inside the party or the system. Like, he's got a lot of time. Like, he could really, he doesn't have a lot of time. He could really, just like ultimately like sacrifice himself and die on some pretty hard principles. And like, it'll at least set the tone for politics, I believe, for the next so long. Indoctrinathan says, look, he could have moved on this incident, but the Palestinian flag should be acknowledged. Do they need soap in their mouths or something? Exactly. I checked the hot takes area. Okay, give me a second. Hot takes. Hot takes, bold statements. Where are we going? What are we looking for? Exactly. Tell us what we're looking at, Ollie Atlas, and I will return. Now, in light of what we did last week, I thought we would start with a little bit of protest music. If you're across protest music, that is. There's some interesting stuff in there. Cause of the cursing being censored. It's an old punishment. All right. Yeah, in the light of some of the old, the protest music that we were listening to last week, I thought let's start with one that Mark had suggested. So Mark was in the stream earlier this week and suggested that we listen to this song. I'll let you listen to it and tell me what your thoughts are. This is a goddamn classic, this is. I wonder if anyone knows this very, very obscure reference. 4AS, shut your mouth. That's all I'm going to say. It's not for you to comment. It's for everyone else to comment on to see if they know this reference. See what I did there for us?
Why you silent? So damn reliant. They demand compliance, but you are defiant. So join the riot, go on and try it. Born to be a rebel, you cannot deny it. Answer the call and walk for all. When the bottom erupts, the top one will fall. When the bottom erupts, the top one will fall. When the bottom erupts, the top one will fall.
Shut your mouth, shut your mouth, shut your mouth, punk. Shut your mouth, shut your mouth, shut your mouth, punk. Shut your mouth, shut your mouth, shut your mouth, punk.
Listen to me and not authority. Not authority, not authority. I said, not authority, not authority. I said, not authority, not authority. I said, I listen to me and not authority. When the bottom erupts, the top one will fall.
Shut your mouth, shut your mouth. Shut your mouth, shut your mouth. Shut your mouth, shut your mouth.
I listen to me and not authority. Not authority, not authority. I said, not authority, not authority. I said, not authority, not authority. I said, I listen to me and not authority. Why you silent? So damn reliant. They demand compliance, but you are defiant. So join the riot, go on and try it. Born to be a rebel, you cannot deny it. Answer the call and walk for all. When the bottom erupts, the top one will fall. When the bottom erupts, the top one will fall. When the bottom erupts, the top one will fall.
Shut your mouth, shut your mouth. Shut your mouth, shut your mouth. Shut your mouth, shut your mouth.
And then we stop, and then we say it again. Not authority, not authority. Not authority, not authority. Not authority, not authority. I said I listen to me and not authority. Not authority, not authority. I said, not authority, not authority. I said, not authority, not authority. I said I listen to me and not authority.
Well, would you look at that? And that's from 2020. That's incredible. Hey, what was going down 5 years ago? Some crazy shit. I'll tell you that much for free. My God. So, does anyone know that absolutely obscure reference? Hey, anybody? I'll put it to you, but that's some protest/revolutionary music to add to your playlist when you're rocking down like we were last Friday to some revolutionary tunes. Now, in saying that, that was piece one of the Discord mix/watch party that we're going to be going through today, because like there's a lot of stuff that's been flowing around on YouTube, on Discord, that I just have not been able to keep up with, despite as much as I have tried in between all the other various functions that I do. And so I thought, let's have a look at the propaganda that's been flowing through the Discord this week in our revolutionary movement. And so, like, I'm going to start with a very particular one, because this was a very special request that was put to me by Jerry B. Poppins, which I'm not sure if he's in the stream. He said he would be here to watch this. And I'm not going to watch the whole thing, but, like, we're going to go on to it now. It's this guy called Tim Dillon, who seems to be some form of a comedian or something like that in the US. And Tim Dillon over here is a little bit outrageous. And he has like a podcast, I guess you would say. And like, so he's been kind of accosted by CNN to do an interview, where like they're basically talking about the new media establishment. And so the new media establishment in CNN's eyes is that old media is dead. So the traditional media is done for. They've been completely clipped. And the new people that hold all the power are the quote unquote podcast elites. So like it's the podcasters out there, your Joe Rogans of the world, your Theo Vons, your Flagrants. These are the types of people that actually have a grip on discourse now, political discourse, and like usual and typical knowledge. People just dip into the regular media for some headlines, but like when they really want to get down and think about some global issues and some things that are plaguing humanity, they go to podcasters. They are the people that really control human thought in the modern era, in the 21st century 2020s example. And so like they seem to grill him for a while, and they go back and forth about this media establishment, but then they get onto something that's been a little bit topical for us, which has been like the idea of like the tech bros. And he gives his opinion on the tech bros as being one of these people inside the new podcast establishment. And so like this comes highly recommended from Jerry B. Poppins. So I hope he's listening. If he is, love this clip. It's what Hassan has been saying to them. You don't need a Joe Rogan. You need to do something. Sounds like Murdoch hacks having a whinge. You can't see the chat on the screen, by the way. Oh, shit. Yeah, why can't you see the chat? Thank you, 4IS. There we go. Thank you. Bernie works on Rogan and Flagrant because he offers a solution to the issues that they can't latch onto. Sadly, any weirdo can have a podcast these days, no matter how dumb or crazy. That's true. This is very true. That's all I'm going to say. All right, let's have a listen to this guy as he gives us his brief opinion about like the tech bros and stuff, because that's really what I want to hear from him. Unless Jerry Poppins is listening and thinks there is somewhere else we should go on this interview and fast forward to that or clip that. But like, let's have a brief listen to what he thinks about that situation. Because like, obviously I have my own opinions on what's going on with the tech bros, but let's see what this insider says.
think the government and the intelligence communities do. I think Hollywood certainly does. And I think all of those people, all of those power factions have worked together for a very, very, very long time. So to say that a few comedians with podcasts equal that seems crazy.
I see
to
why
me.
you say. Okay, I understand.
That's
what
the
you're
only
saying.
thing I'm saying.
It's like, I guess like new establishment is kind of a term of art within old
Yeah.
media, and maybe I'm not using that in
Yeah.
a clear way, but it's like, this is the place to go to address Americans.
I certainly think it's becoming a place, and it should be a place, that a candidate should sit for a 2-hour interview with Joe Rogan. Why not?
But not just a candidate. Peter Thiel, Mark
Yes.
Andreessen, Elon.
Sure. They should do that.
I mean, don't tell me that's not interesting. It's interesting.
It's very interesting.
Okay,
I
so
think
what do you make of
technology
it?
is very interesting.
What do you think of those tech people then?
I worry about them. I don't
'Cause,
trust any
you know,
of them,
I was like-
actually.
I was on the
I don't
Reddit.
trust any of them.
I was on the subreddit for your podcast.
Yeah.
And
Healthy people.
I like Reddit, but
I think some of them are lovely.
they put in the work.
Yeah, and I appreciate it.
They were analyzing.
You attract what you are a little bit.
Oh God. Okay.
Yes.
They were analyzing your reaction to Elon Musk's
Yeah.
Roman salute,
Yes.
and they were like
Roman
puzzling.
salute.
The people
Come
were
on
puzzling
now.
over whether
Yes.
you thought it was intended to be what it looked like.
Right.
Boo. Boo.
What did you think it was?
I think he's trolling in a weird way.
Yeah.
Who
I don't
ads?
think he's a Nazi.
Go on, everyone, give me your comments before he says his piece. What did you think about the Nazi salute? Come on. Was it a Nazi salute? This guy said so far it's trolling. Give me your thoughts. I don't know, man. He knows what he's doing, Elon Musk.
I think he's trolling. I think he desperately wants to be liked, and I think he desperately
Yeah, do you like how the algorithms got me covered? So it's like, you need energy. Here, have some rice. Your house needs some energy. Have some power.
wants to be funny. And I think people that want those two things can make grave errors, especially around weird. I think the Bannon thing was literally he was just kind of weirdly waving. Steve Bannon's massively pro-Israel. He's a very, you know what I mean? Like he's not, if you look at the politics behind it, he's incredibly pro, like that's not, it wouldn't make any sense. And I just think Elon was probably trying to be funny and trying to troll. And I think, I think that's probably what happened there. I don't think he's a Nazi, but I also think it was like a very stupid thing to do.
I think that's a really mild assessment of the situation. Like, let's be honest. It was, and it was so stupid. Well, yeah, that's 2 cents right there. It's like saying swastikas is a Buddhist symbol. It's not. It's not the modern context. That's pretty funny. Oh no, I didn't draw a swastika. I tried to draw a Buddhist symbol. That's a pretty good one. Like, yeah, like he's right. Like, it was stupid. And like, it's pretty modest take is being like, maybe he was trolling. Like maybe he was. Like maybe he was trolling, like to try and G people up and stuff like that. But like, is that the platform to do it? Like America, leaders of the free world, supposedly the reason why, Nazi Germany stopped because the Americans got involved in World War II. Like, is it appropriate at a presidential inauguration to troll people with a fucking Hitler salute, like a Nazi salute? I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a big fucking call. And like, this is coming from someone who's supposed to be a genius. He's a goddamn genius, he is. And he can't read a room like that. Like, I don't know, man. It doesn't stack up. And like, this guy's like, no, look, he's not a Nazi. And it's like, well, look, we've done some research on these streams and we know exactly where he comes from. He comes from an area that was full of Nazis that had to leave Nazi Germany, like after World War II. And they set up a little society for themselves down there at the bottom of the world where they could be isolated from the other general population and like live in their little fantasy world. And like Musk grew up in that environment. He's very cognizant of this stuff. This isn't like some like college kid who thinks that it's funny to like, make fun of Nazis or something like that as a joke. Like he's literally like a predecessor, sorry, not a predecessor, an ancestor of like that culture. Like he has his roots in that culture. And so like, it's a little bit too much if it is a joke. Like it's too real, if you know what I mean. Maybe Mussolini was just, and Hitler took it too far. Maybe, I don't know. Just saying. Like, I'm just saying. Who knows? Just trolling. Elon steals ideas and designs. He doesn't make them. Yeah, that's an interesting one too, right? Because like, that's the fable. He's a genius. And this is like, yeah, he's a genius. He's also a man who's incredibly dedicated with a lot of money. And like, I can be incredibly dedicated. Give me a lot of money. Hey? And like, let's see what I can do. You mean a descendant of that culture? Yeah, sorry, a descendant. Yeah. Yeah, why not? Thank you, 4AS. You're on the vocab today.
And what do you make of like trolling internet culture, the culture of our youth being now? I mean, you cannot say that Elon Musk is not establishment. He's established.
I think Elon Musk is a tech oligarch. I mean, in terms of the term establishment, it's just an interesting term. I think Elon Musk is a tech oligarch, was a relationship with our government, other governments. He's got an agenda. He's got a company. He wants things. So absolutely, I mean, he's one of the richest people in the world.
But what do you make of like internet trolling culture, like seizing hold of a guy like that?
It's inevitable. He's the most famous, one of the most famous people in the world. I think it's just an inevitability. He also kind of welcomes it and courts it a little bit.
But he's acting it out. It's not just...
I mean, he's like an over-the-top crazy, like, these guys now are like, they're flying their own spaceships around. It's supervillain behavior, And I mean, of course. I mean, I think it's going to get all kinds of attention.
What do you make of all those tech guys going on Rogan's podcast?
Well, I think, like you said, it's a place where they're all making the rounds. But again, it's like I think anybody who's a Democrat, then a Republican, then a Democrat, then a Republican, who seems not to have a political ideology outside of their own interests is someone that probably should be watched. And I think a lot of these guys believe in some interesting stuff, like the transhumanist stuff, and I think it's way out of the mainstream of.
Whoa, slow down there. The transhumanist stuff, we touched on this yesterday. Yes, these guys do believe in all this transhumanism. And this is a big part of the Dark Enlightenment, can I say, which is like, Nick Land-fueled philosophy on, how humans need to progress and like how we should unleash the forces of capital through some type of CEO king. And like, to hell with the human race. Like that is, that's old news. The way that we're going to develop our species and survive and contribute to the universe is that we merge with machines. And so like, he's just like throwing it out. Oh yeah, it's really interesting. They believe in this transhumanist stuff. It's like, slow the fuck down. Like we can't even deal right now with the fact that like kids have like phones that they're attached to all the time. And that's like basically destroying society. And now they want to merge with machines and everyone's cool with this. Like, it's just like, oh yeah, it's really interesting stuff, isn't it? Transhumanism. Please explain. If anyone's offended by looking at ChatGPT, just let me know. I will pass on your offense to the algorithm. Transhumanism is a philosophical and intellectual movement that advocates for using science and technology to enhance the human condition, physically, mentally, and even morally. At its core, transhumanism is about transcending the limitations of biology through technological advancement. Human enhancement. Transhumanists support the development of ethical use, whatever that means, of technologies to improve human capabilities. This includes cognitive enhancement, brain-computer interfaces, nootropics, physical enhancement, prosthetics, genetic engineering, longevity, anti-aging therapies, cryonics, emotional and psychological enhancement, mood regulation, direct stimulation of pleasure centers, post-humanism, a future stage where humans evolve beyond current physical and mental limitations, potentially becoming post-human, ladies and gentlemen, merging with AI or machines, achieving digital conscious mind uploading and altering our bodies with beyond recognition, like synthetic and cybernetic forms. Well. Prominent figures. I don't know any of those people. But like, here it is. Like, what did he say? He was really nonchalant about it. It was like, it's really interesting.
Republican, then a Democrat, then a Republican, who seems not to have a political ideology outside of their own interests is someone that probably should be watched. And I think a lot of these guys believe in some interesting stuff, like the transhumanist stuff, and I think it's way out of the mainstream of.
They believe in some interesting stuff. So there's a large acknowledgement there that like these tech bros, which is what they're talking about, they believe in transhumanism. Now he's saying it's interesting. Interesting could be like, let's just hear them talk. It's nice to know other people's opinions. But like he said, they believe in this stuff. This is the world that we are diving into now, where you don't have control over the means of production, as in like we don't, as the masses of society. We have a select group of individuals out there, a bunch of tech bros who are the richest people in the world. And like, I know they don't have all of the power, but they're a very significant portion of the bourgeoisie. And their ideals are, let's live forever, let's merge with machines, and let's use machines in a way that gives us post-human capabilities. In the interim, let's look for cognitive enhancement. So let's start inserting chips into people's heads. Let's look for physical enhancement, longevity. We know the anti-aging stuff. Like Peter Thiel is a part of that. Brian Johnson, our mate. If Wings of Cheese was here, he'd be telling you all about it. About like how they do blood transfusions with young people so they can try and live longer, and they can get the erection of an 18-year-old. These are the types of conversations that they're having. And then emotional and psychological enhancement. What the fuck is that about? Mood regulation. Imagine using machines to help regulate your mood. Like some people take drugs to like chill the fuck out. Imagine using a machine to do that. And like, okay, I'm down with that. If it's just like, all right, it's my machine, like a light switch, and I get to turn it on and off, and I get full control over it, and I can change the light bulb whenever I want to. I can walk down to the shops and buy any type of light bulb I want, and that light bulb is completely disconnected from the broader internet because there's no one else controlling it. But like we're talking about technology that is going to be controlled by a bunch of tech bros, and they're going to be regulating your mood through the microchip they stick in your head, and then maybe controlling the prosthetics that you use. And then like, you know, controlling the drugs that you take to anti-age and all that sort of stuff. Like this is some crazy stuff that we're not really ready for, I would say. There was one Simpsons episode where Elon came to Springfield and made it into a dystopia. Ooh, I didn't know the Simpsons went there. I thought that he would have paid them to have some good image, I would have thought. Doomeristic nihilism is just tiring. Now, this has, I would say, unfortunately, because you can knock off a lot of this stuff as like the doomer nihilism kind of stuff, right? Especially the Nick Land stuff, which is just like, you know, unleash the technology because technology will leave us behind. That's not what this is. This is a little bit more positive or optimistic than that, because it's like, look, we've got the tech, let's merge humans and leave these bodies behind. They're just a hindrance, really. And so like this is like advancing the human race or the species kind of thing. This is like social engineering 2.0. And they wonder why people think of these guys as tech fascists. Like before it was just like, you know, trying to make the perfect Aryan race. And now it's trying to make the perfect human merged with machines. Like this is, you know, this is 2.0 fascism kind of stuff, or Nazi scientific shit. And like this guy's like, you know, God love him. But he's just like, oh yeah, it's interesting. We got to hear them out. But like, you know, he's rubbed shoulders with these guys. Like at least Joe Rogan anyway. They're good friends. And like, he's like, yeah, they believe in this stuff. And I'm sure they did. I'm sure they do. The Nazis really believed in the Aryan race and producing like perfect citizens too. But like, you know, should we be going down that path? Should we be going down that path? It's a really, you know, it's a really valuable conversation to have. That's the type of conversation that we should be having, I think. Indoctrination, big. I watched too much Trek as a kid, but didn't understand how they got there. Just the end point energy. Yeah, right. Yes. That's a very interesting way of putting it, hey? And it's like, look at all the glamour of all this like sci-fi kind of stuff. But like that particular brand of sci-fi really has a point to it where like they're living in a world that is, yeah, post-scarcity. And like they've figured out like kind of the pettiness of human civilization up until this point where it's like just dog-eat-dog world, which defines everything. And like seems to be morally justifiable as well. And like, you know, they don't acknowledge that these sci-fi futuristic wonderlands are beyond the dog-eat-dog nature of civilization today. I think that's a good point. A purple pebble on YouTube, transhumanism and psychedelics. Xenophil, nice to see you. Welcome to the Friday stream. And thank you for the recommendation. Transhumanism and psychedelics sounds fucking mental. You want to jump down a rabbit hole? My God. And then Ollie Atlas. That's why I have a conservative view on transhumanism. Isn't it funny how we bridge, like we move in and out of conservative and progressive ideals and things? It's almost like humans aren't static, as the culture wars would insinuate. Very interesting. Very interesting, might I add. So anyway, let's see if there's any other gold coming out of Tim in this stream.
What the American public wants. I think the American public wants like healthcare, and they want like to be able to live and send their kids to school. And I don't think their main concerns are like, let's escape the planet, let's colonize Mars.
Among the big podcasts.
Yes, amongst the establishmentarian podcast elite.
That's right. Amongst let's
blue
call them the
blooded-
podcast elite.
The podcast Illuminati blue bloods. Yes.
Among those people, it seems like there is a cracking in the Trump coalition in terms of policy around Israel.
Yes.
Around as you spoke to a little bit, the
Yeah.
student deportations.
Yeah.
And just in general, the continuation of the war. Can you tell me about that? Like, what do you think of that?
I think it's not only in that space. I think you see it all over. I think you see it on the left. I think you see it on the right. I think you see it everywhere. I think people, you're confronted with these images that are visceral and they're horrible. And these are children being killed. These are infants being killed and dying in their parents' arms. And I think the country's a pro-Israel country. Israel's an ally. I believe it has a right to exist. I believe it's not an inherently evil or bad place. But when you look at what's been going on, I don't think too many people with a conscience.
Could you imagine, like if he wasn't talking about Israel and like we were 100 years ago and he was talking about like Nazi Germany or something like that? Like, could you just imagine that conversation? Look, I think they have a right to exist, the Nazis. And like, I don't think they're like, they're inherently good or evil, like kind of thing. But like, children are dying. And so like, we need to do something about that. Like these conversations have happened throughout history kind of thing. Like really, like it's very, very interesting. And, I must admit, I am surprised that there is a sentiment turn going on, it would seem, in the US at the moment. It would actually seem like people are starting to acknowledge the fact that this is atrocious. For so long, like, people have just been like, no, I don't want to talk about it kind of thing. And, like, now it's really just too much to ignore, it would seem. It would seem that it's too much to ignore. I don't know if that's true or not. That is 100% going to get clipped out of context. Yeah, could you imagine? But like, it seems like people are starting to become, I thought people would just become desensitized to the atrocities and just like everyone would just wait around until they're silently just disappear into the night. The Palestinians. But it would seem that like whatever pressure these students have been putting on and like people just generally who refuse to stop talking about in the face of deportations and sanctions and everything, like I think the tide might be turning a little bit here. I don't know, tell me your thoughts, because I really think, I really had no faith that the American machine was going to slow down on this one. And it would seem like it's starting, like people are starting to just have the conversation anyway, despite the fact that they've been told by their producers and they've been told by everyone else not to go there. And like they're coming out because they want to be on the side of history that doesn't show them as inconsiderate assholes, I guess. Indoctrinathan says, I swear I've been anti-system linked AI since I was a kid watching Battlestar Galactica. Like, this is literally how they predicted Cylons came about. We can't say we weren't warned through pop culture. The Atlas, more or less, then I'm skeptical or afraid that would be more or less the end of all progress. Yeah. I agree. Like it is scary territory, and like I'm all for technological development. I'm all for just technological development that like makes life easier for humans, so we can do other human stuff, like our complex social relations that always tend to be politicized, and much more difficult than anything else. And so like technology that kind of removes social functions between humans, and like turns us into machines, like quite literally, is just weird. It's not human. And so like if everyone's okay to become a machine, like this is not about like transhumanism as I see it at the moment with these explanations, is not actually about like actually enhancing humans. It's just turning us into like beings that can live like machines, that like we don't age and we're super efficient. But like, is that what humans are supposed to be? That sounds like a very capitalistic form of human. Like the age of capitalism developing itself and the means of production, ever revolutionizing the means of production and commodifying all things, is literally like, okay, one of the last barriers is how do we turn humans into a standard commodity so we can mass produce them too? And so like this is just an extension of the capitalist mindset, which is just like everything needs to be mass produced and standardized. So like let's just turn humans into machines and then we can just plug them in somewhere and like we can tell them to consume whatever is produced, or like we can just control them completely outright. We can even design them, kind of thing. It's like not even leaving it up to nature to do anything anymore. Now we're not meant to be that way. It'd be a sad way for humanity to go down. No, we're not meant to be that way. It would be very sad. I would say incredibly sad. Did someone get censored and they put something? No one's got censored recently. Okay. Sorry, I just heard my little Discord thingy. All right, I'll let them finish. I watched H.G. Wells. I watched H.G. Wells' Things to Come recently, and the way he depicts a world on the brink of, during and post-war, is timeless. They are still the questions we ask ourselves today. Interesting. Well, Things to Come. I'm not across this. It's a film. Oh, okay, 1936. Things to Come is a 1936 British science fiction film produced by Alexander Korda. The shape of things to come is from a novel. The thing exposes a future history from 940 to 2036, depicting a world devastated by war and the subsequent rise of a utopian society led by pacifist scientists. Sounds scary, eh? Pacifist scientists. God. They're very interesting. I will let Tim finish. Let's see.
Want to keep funding this. I mean, that's, and by the way, I've talked to friends, Jewish friends, people from Israel. I think a lot of people want this to end. I don't think it's specific to a certain group of podcasters. I think this is what's interesting, and there's nothing wrong with your question, but like, what this is like, it is a great example of like, this is an issue that's everywhere, but I think when you ask the question, you go, so what's going on in this coalition of right-wing podcasters? Is it, and it's like, well, I don't think it's specifically there. I think this is like the biggest foreign policy issue out, that the entire country's debating.
Well, I interview like regular people, non-media people, non-extremists also.
Right.
Like, just like regular Trump supporters
I hope
a lot.
I'm in the extremist category. Don't put me in the non-extremist category. That's got to be the most boring people.
But those people don't think that much about foreign policy or Israel or the student deportations. Like sometimes if I'm going to, I was just in South Dakota, asking someone about the student deportations, he didn't know what I was talking about.
Right.
So, I guess I'm curious whether you think...
Can I ask an American that's listening to that, is that fucking true? Like, if you ask, I don't know, average Americans, whatever she means by that, or average Trump supporters maybe, like they would actually have no idea that Trump is deporting student protesters. I thought they would be proud of it, actually. I need you in on this one, Ollie Atlas, please. There are civvies on both sides of the Holy Land who want the war to end and have suffered because of the war. Yes, there are. I actually thought they would be very proud of that effort of, deporting these evil anti-American students and stuff like that. But like, it seems as she's saying, like there's certain stuff that people just don't know about, certain conversations, let's say, certain conversations.
Or expect or hope that just as these politicians have seen something to gain in your audience, do you do you think they'll listen at all?
Will politicians listen to their constituents?
Yeah.
What a great question with an unknowable answer. I mean, I think a lot of people elected Barack Obama not thinking that a lot of his cabinet was going to be directly drafted from Citigroup, right? I think a lot of people elected Donald Trump hoping that we were not going to continue foreign wars and spending American money for foreign wars. You know, I mean, this is the whole thing. Everybody campaigns on a laundry list of things they're going to do, and are they going to do them, and are they going to listen? I mean, it's a great question.
Does anyone ever back channel with you?
I think there's people that are frustrated. I think that I don't think it's a monolith. I think in a presidential administration, you have people that feel very differently. This is all being publicized right now over tariffs.
Yeah.
There are people that felt differently about tariffs, about all kinds of things. Do I talk to certain people? Sure. And some of them have different opinions, but I don't think it's like they're doubting the overall course of action. I think it's just like you have people that are more hawkish, and there are people that are like much less hawkish. There's people that think that you need to confront Iran, and there's people that believe that that would be a terrible strategic mistake. I would be of the latter group.
Yeah.
But those are two ideas that are existing in that space.
Welcome.
Those are two ideas. It's true. It's deep insight there. All right. That's enough with that one. We're going to go on to this one. I don't know. I remember who put this one in the Discord. But like, this is somebody needs to do it. Here, politicians listen to their local branch members. If you ask any Liberal MP why they still watch Sky, they will let you know how it's all they hear at local branch meetings. That's interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, it's the Sky News propaganda machine, eh? And I wonder how old these people that are at the branch meetings are anyway, if they're still watching Sky News. Oh, maybe they're doing it through social media, not on the TV. But yes, does anyone know this character? Her name is Taylor Lorenz. She seems to be quite the up-and-coming liberal commentator, I would say.
All across the internet, please.
If you've come across her before, Taylor Lorenz is her name. She seems to be, I believe she was a journalist for a while, and she's gone off to start her own channel. Like, I saw her really first come up on my feed probably about a month or two ago, and she had like 50,000 subscribers, and now she's almost cracking 100K. So she's grown like ridiculously very recently. Legit, they watch it to be prepared for their locals. Labour MPs don't know where it's going to come from. That's hilarious. And like, this is an interesting one. Like, this was put in the Discord, and this has come up on my feed as well. And Indoctrinathan, I will be watching things to come on Internet Archive or up after this. Thanks. Somebody needs to do it. Has anyone come across this phenomenon that is taking place on social media? Anyone? It's called Somebody Needs to Do It. Now, let's just watch these people talk about Somebody Needs to Do It, and then you tell me what you think this is about. Let's see if you can pick up on the vibe.
Yo, can somebody just do it? Can somebody, anybody, just do it?
Somebody's got to do it. There has to be somebody out there that is willing to do it.
Who's going to take the initiative to do it? We all know what needs to be done, and somebody needs to do it.
If someone does it before the summertime, it's going to be like that one summer when everyone was playing Pokemon Go and everyone was a friend.
Gotta do it for the good of everybody.
Do it, please. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Every minute counts.
I'm not saying somebody should. Nobody should.
I 100% dare you to name one thing that you hope happens in 2025.
This is not part of it. This is an ad. They should not do this. Don't do this. Don't do ads.
On X, TikTok, Instagram.
Do we know what they're talking about? It? Anyone? Anyone? What is Nike doing? Nike tick? That's just weird. We need to get you an A block. Yeah. No. No, thank you. Okay. I don't want an ad blocker. I don't want to get chopped down by YouTube. I already get chopped enough by YouTube. I'm not pissing off the algorithm. But what I will say is, what the fuck are they talking about? LOL. Do you know what they're talking about? Check centered. Do you know what they're talking about? Honestly, I want to know, because like her vibe is that like everybody kind of knows what they're saying. And like I knew what they were saying beforehand and I just saw it like off the cuff. And I was like, fuck, I know what they're saying. Trump supporters either don't understand, don't know, or either. And the slightest argument exposing either will turn them against Trump, realizing he's doing something both illegal or immoral. I've seen it before. Interesting. So yeah, I really thought that they would be across the fact that like he's been deporting people, because it's like good PR for him and his supporters. I think they're talking about, yes, that's exactly what they're talking about. Yes, they're talking about unaliving Big D. If anyone's wondering what like somebody needs to do, it is, you win. All right, you win. Alavia. I don't know how to say your name properly. I'm just hoping. Avoliva. What is your synonym on YouTube? Can you tell me? Because like it's just too many synonyms to be across. Not your synonym, your pseudonym on YouTube, please. Card picker, make crap shoes. Child slavery. Kyle Gass was right. Indoctrination. Who's Kyle Gass? But yes, if everyone knows what we're talking about here, somebody needs to do it. Look, if Wings of Cheese was in this right now, okay, promoting being a traitor. I'm not sure what you mean. Tenacious D, okay. And what was he right about? Now, this seems to be a thing, apparently, on social media, talking about somebody needs to do it. Now, if Wings of Cheese was here right now, he would be all over this like a rash, because he speaks, or we have discussed at length, the idea of propaganda by the deed. So is anyone familiar with the term propaganda by the deed? If not, let's take a walk down history lane. And propaganda by the deed is a form of political expression that was being used around the time of, I guess, the 19th century, from the mid-19th century onwards, maybe a little bit earlier than that, where people were taking, politics into their own hands. This was particularly a big thing in Europe around the Age of Revolution, so 1848, all that sort of stuff. There was still all these kings and monarchs that were holding on to power, even though like the bourgeois revolutions had pretty much swept across Europe, and like capitalism was in full force at that point. And so there really was no need to have these kings around anymore, and they were trying to transition into a fully bourgeois democratic system, so liberal democratic societies, and like these old politicians were hanging on, they couldn't be trusted, and so people were taking matters into their own hands. And so propaganda of the deed was the idea of political expression, not as propaganda, so like words like printed press stuff, posters, slogans, but by the deed, by action. So if you're propaganda by the deed in a modern sense would be like the idea of people talk about, eat the rich or something like that. Propaganda by the deed, the version of that would be actually eating the rich. And so like what she's talking about, Taylor over here, old Tay-Tay, is basically the idea that like some people are calling for propaganda of the deed in relation to the American president at the moment. Now, this is quite startling, I must say that like this type of stuff is catching on. Now, her argument in this piece of content is that like this is actually a sign that democracy is failing in America, and people in desperation because they feel like they have absolutely no political expression have no alternative but to, call for such extreme acts as propaganda by the deed. And so, like, this is a trend, apparently. I haven't come across it. I'm not sure if anyone else has come across this, but, like, this is apparently what's being talked about. Now, obviously, right-wing critiques of this are just like, that's outrageous. How could you be promoting violence? How could you even go there? Like, what a sick world we live in where liberals fantasize kind of about, like, doing an act like this. But, like, she aptly points out the hypocrisy there where, like, right-wing people and conservatives and Republican supporters are more than happy to support people that go around basically killing others in the name of, like, political expression. So, like, the copper and George Floyd, that guy Kyle Rittenhouse that went and popped an anti-fascist protester, in the middle of like the Black Lives Matter protests, cross state boundaries to pop an anti-fascist protester and like got off kind of scot-free, really, and has become like a celebrated public figure of the right. So like she's I think she kind of makes the point that like this type of stuff is not unusual for both sides of the political spectrum. And she actually goes through kind of interesting history of like where this sentiment has kind of, how this has developed over the last 5 years. It's actually quite interesting, her analysis, her historical analysis of like people's proclivity or tendency to want to take matters into their own hands when it comes to like the elite, the establishment, all that sort of stuff. She cites the phenomenon in the early 2020s of when those orcas, those killer whales, were attacking like yachts, rich people's yachts. I think somewhere around the British Channel or something like that, and everyone was like, making jokes about like sending the orcas in to eat the rich and stuff like that. And to like, start the revolution. And then when that submarine that was full of rich people went down when they were trying to kind of explore the Titanic, and everyone was jumping on talking about like, again, expressing elation and like not sympathy or commiserations when it came to, rich people doing stupid shit with all of their money and dying as a result of that. And so like she unravels kind of this history of like this sentiment of like, the rich versus the super rich versus everybody else, and like sentiments towards that. And obviously that reaches its apogee with Luigi Mangione. And like he pops a CEO, and like everyone's shocked that like, it's not another piece on the culture war agenda straight off the bat. And like working class people across the political spectrum are all like, well, health insurance is pretty fucked up, and so like maybe the CEO kind of deserved it. And like she's like kind of outlines this entire sentiment towards this, and then she makes the case that this is a branch of that, where like, people obviously think that like Trump is out of control, and they're asking for extreme measures to be taken, kind of thing. So it's an interesting case that she tries to make here. Card Picker says, make crap shoes. Oh, no, I already read that one. Card Picker says, lame. 4AS says, is that what they're talking about? Yes, apparently, 4AS. Card Picker, again, has anyone seen Corn Pop's Revenge? It's about the Biden fam, I guess he's trying to say there. You're trying to say there. Indoctrination. Check the CC. Also, see the T-Man roast. Everyone loved him. He knows how to troll too. The D. Nah, can't begin that all BS. indoctrination. Remember last year when he turned 10? Is that a degree symbol? They attacked him. Fact. Assume you're talking about Kyle. Kyle Picker. Kyle stopped felons, abusers from ever doing that again. Self-defense. Ryan Dawson could help you on this topic. Indoctrination. Even when the women went up in the spaceship a few weeks back, people were praying they wouldn't come back. Yeah, there seems to be quite the sentiment about like these disconnected rich people that kind of just get to do whatever they want. The world is basically their oyster and their playground, and people aren't happy with it. And like, you know, when bad things happen to them, people aren't sad about it. And like, I think that's what her case is kind of here. Censored comments. Nacious D, I guess, makes a joke about Trump. Ava lava is the pronunciation, if that makes sense. Ava lava. Okay, yes, that helps a lot. Thank you. Ava lava. And what is your YouTube pseudonym, please? If you don't mind. I would like to be across it all.
Happy birthday, dear Kyle. Happy birthday. Make a wish, Anna. Don't miss Trump next time.
How old was that? July 14th. Fuck, that was like just after the event as well. Like just after it. That's crazy. This was last year in Sydney. That's hilarious. What? Last year? That's so weird. Yeah, man, that's crazy. Yeah, a day or two after, it was so close to the event. That's mental. Don't miss next time. I don't have a YouTube anymore. I checked out of that whole surveillance platform. I'm sure you did. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough, actually. They broke up over this? No way. Wow. Interesting. All right, we've already done Shut Your Mouth. Somebody needs to do it. Somebody needs to do it. So on and so forth. So like, we're not going to sit through this, but like, it was recommended in the Discord. So like, you know, if you have the time, go and check out the whole thing that Taylor talks about. Now Jack is teasing that they might be getting back together. Cocaine, white dot, brain. Yeah. Jack Black though, threw Kyle under the bus so he can ride the gravy train of Hollywood's kids movies. Yeah, probably, right? They had to split up. Someone had to take the fall. And like, yeah, he had stuff coming up. So why can't we have a rock concert and a robot at our birthdays? This happened right after Mario movie, right? Yeah, you got to protect your investments, right? All right. Well, like the last one that I wanted to have a look at today is something that I'm pretty sure Nafan, you asked us to have a look at this as well in the Discord, because of what I had put up about Bernie. So like, let's give Bernie the chance to respond like to some of my criticisms or my points about what I see are deficiencies with the whole kind of Bernie kind of movement. And like, he actually kind of explains some of the stuff that I talked about, like, you know, the handover between him and AOC, and like, you know, stuff about like him and what he thinks. And like, we can go through some of these agenda items if you have like anything that you particularly really want to go through. But like, let's start with what he thinks about like AOC. I meant it is the exact story behind The Ballad of Hollywood, Jack and the Rage Cage. Life imitates art sometime. Okay. So let's have a look at what Bernie has to say about AOC being next in line.
I'm 83 years of age, so that's what it's about.
Please answer yes.
They won't even see it. For you. That's what it's about.
Please answer yes. Are you going to run for president?
Please ask, yes. I'm 83 years of age, so that is, I think I've run my last race. But,
now, does that mean...
Zero fair races.
Does that mean that this oligarchy tour is you passing the baton?
No, don't look at it like that. The oligarchy tour is...
I think we're all looking at it like that.
No, it's not a passing the baton. I happen to, I think Alexandria is great, but it's not my job to determine who the new leaders are. People have each of them, as I mentioned, in the House, there are a lot of great people. In the Senate, there's some good people. And there are people who are not in office right now. But the oligarchy tour was an effort to say to the country that there are people all over America.
Why can't an Australian distiller take on the world's best?
Yeah, what I was saying before is I'm not doing the ad blocker because I'm in trouble already with YouTube. So if you really want ad blocker, like real ad blocker, I'll get YouTube Premium once I start getting enough financial support through Patreon.
Oligarchy tour was
there's your incentive.
An effort to say to the country that there are people all over America who are going to stand up to this oligarchy. They don't want a government of billionaires. They're going to stand up to authoritarianism. There are people, as I'm sure you're familiar with, a young woman from Turkey, for God's sakes, was in Massachusetts, went to Tufts University. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
This woman walks down the street, suddenly guys grab her with masks on, throw her into a van, take her to a detention center. Why? Because she wrote an op-ed critical of the war in Gaza. Really? That's what goes on in America? And we're seeing that. So, this was an opportunity for people by the zillion. We were shocked, to be honest with you. When I ran for president, we had very large turnouts. These are larger. I mean, in L.A., we had 36,000. In Denver, we had 34. I mean, insane turnouts. We went to Idaho, the most conservative state in the country. We had 12,000 people outside of Boise. So we wanted to give people the opportunity to stand up and say, no, we're not happy with the direction that Trump is taking this country.
Wow. Sorry, I want to go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm curious. Like, I find you very.
So I guess his response to that is like, no, he doesn't want AOC. Well, he likes AOC, but he does not see her replacing him in any meaningful way or fashion. I'm assuming that's because it's not his choice. That's kind of what he said, I guess. I don't know if that's really much to go on there, but, I can't stand this site. ANC report, corn, pops, revenge. This is waffle. Nobody cares what dumb, angry Santa says. Wow. If it's getting people in a conversation state to come out, that's saying something. Yeah, a conservative state, to come out. That's saying something. Yeah, look, I don't know much about Idaho's history. And I didn't even know if it was conservative, but we're about to find out. Landlocked state, Pacific Northwest. Well, let's zoom out a little bit. Slow down. Right back, please. So, what are we looking at here? Near Utah, Nevada. Okay, fair enough. Oh, it's a bit more north than I thought it was. Okay. Yeah, right. So heavily, what's his point? He's got heavily conservative area and he got big numbers coming out. Idaho is most known for its potato farms. Ah, there we go. Deep red. Okay, deep red. Who cares? This is a nothing burger. Corn Pops Revenge. See it. Stream that instead of Bernie Slumber's waffle. Thanks, but no thanks. But thank you for the suggestion. Appreciate it. Yeah, right. Interesting. So his big point is that people are really shocked by this and they're concerned about the oligarchy, which is nice. I think it's good to bring consciousness to this idea. and wear true red. Haha. Ignore info because okay then. Well, like to be honest, like I don't think I've ever seen you on this stream before. I'm not sure. And like I don't know if we can really trust your opinion at this point. You need to prove yourself a little bit more than just putting out some flagrantly antagonistic comments if you want to convince us to watch something. Sorry. So maybe you extend the olive branch a little bit more than being antagonistic, and I will consider whether we actually take you seriously, because it seems like so far you just want to troll. So I'll leave it to you to prove yourself to the rest of us. That's in your court, card picker.
Brave, and I find the work that
No, I am not brave.
I find you brave personally,
Yeah.
and because I recognize that what you're doing disrupts, or at least you are attempting to disrupt, many powerful people and their access to unthinkable amounts of wealth. So I'm curious, in your work and in your political career, have you ever felt that your personal safety was ever threatened?
Well, I don't want to get into that, but do we have security issues?
Wow.
Is that your question? Of course we do.
Wow.
And I'm not the only
And the more power that you have, the higher the concern of that security.
I don't want to get into it. But we have, those are issues.
But that's why I find
I just want to let you know.
But it's not, look,
Bernie, we're here to bang for you, bro.
Yeah.
We're here to bang for you. If you need anything, you let us know.
All right,
Yeah.
Okay? You
I
still
can't
got a lot
fight,
of love
but-
in New York City.
Yeah.
You're safe here, man. I can't say anything for Idaho, but if you need anything in the 5 boroughs, we got you. Okay?
Sorry, if
right.
I may follow up on one
Yep.
thing that you brought up earlier, revolutionizing education. How would you do that beyond paying teachers more? I just need to know.
I think sitting.
Honestly, even out of the Republic town halls, it's full of older ladies and men who do not look like your typical Dem voter, to say the least. Did you watch this whole thing? And find like the whole flagrant podcast on this one? Because like I wasn't too happy with his answer to this question, or his answer to the question on like what should actually people do. Like he didn't really answer the question. Like he kind of said that like we need to rethink education, I think, and spend more money on the right stuff. But like he didn't seem to have too much of a plan for that, which I thought was interesting. But like maybe education's not his jam. I don't know.
Kids at a desk for long hours is probably not the best way to create the kind of creativity that we want in kids. At the end of the day, if you are excited about learning, you're going to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And if I pound that excitement out of you that every child instinctively has, and tell you to memorize, what George Washington did, and I'm going to make school a painful experience. So interesting, I use Finland as an example because their kids, they usually do better. Their kids, they allow their kids to be kids, to play a lot, to socialize a lot. But you got to keep the spark alive.
With Sportsbet's NRL Same Game Multi-Tracker.
Yeah,
you're
would.
about to lose.
And once that spark is alive, curiosity is alive,
It would be
learning
a
takes
big
place,
deal.
learning takes place, the rest takes place. So I think you need a revolution in that sense of the word. And also, of course, the financial barrier should be eliminated. I don't care if you're low income, you want to become an engineer, you'll be able to do that. So those are some of the
Before you leave, how can people who feel like your message has really resonated with them today help? Help you, help the cause?
Yeah, look, we are trying to do something which is very, very difficult. And I think we're having some success, and we've had some success, is, come to our social media. We have a Senate page and we have a campaign page, more political. We are supporting and will be supporting more progressive candidates running for Congress, Senate, and so forth. And I will
People exaggerating with the word revolution is either tiring or offensive. I don't even know. Yeah, look, it's being diluted, obviously. But like even like with the Bernie revolution, like the campaign trail that he had in 2016, like we're just picking up on sexy words. Like they don't use it appropriately. But like, such is sensationalism. It's everywhere.
Tell you, think outside of the box in your own lives. These are unprecedented times, and we've got to respond in an unprecedented way. And you think, and each and every one of us is different. You don't want to run for office, fine. What else can you be doing? Help people form a union. Become involved in education in a way you did not be involved before. You think it through. But we need more participation. We don't need what the system really, and this I've experienced, I've seen it a million times.
I don't like that he just points to the rest of the world personally. Like if I was an American, I'd want to hear that we can look at what other countries are doing and figure out a way that works for us. Yes. Progressivism in the slightest in any politician is rare in America as a result of liberal Democrat dominance. Yeah, I agree. Like you should be kind of seeing what works and adapting it to your own situation. I think there's a lot to be said for that. Absolutely. And that's why like it was a little bit kind of, I don't know, unrehearsed, I guess, or like unthought out, I thought, surprisingly, his response to the education question and his response to this question as well. They're kind of like, well, what should people be doing? Like, you've just had an hour and a half talking to people and, like, speaking about how the oligarchs suck and stuff like that and how screwed up the system is because it suits the 1%. And, like, someone asked a serious question that I think, like, is actually on the minds of most young people who are kind of at the start of, like, their adult life and they can see their future in front of them and they want to know, like, what is the hope in the world in front of me? Like, you're saying basically, the oligarchy sucks and like we need to change the system. Now you, 83-year-old man who has an incredible understanding of the system, like, what should people do? And he's basically like, well, these are unprecedented times, and so they need an unprecedented response. That could be anything. If you like education, maybe go into education. If you like starting unions, start a union. Like, I just would have thought that someone like him would have had this response so rehearsed. Like, okay, somebody asks me what I should be doing. He could just be like, fucking, here's a 10-point plan. You start here and go for this and you go for that. Like when Chomsky is asked this type of question, I think he has a very interesting take on this. He believes, and this is part of, like, we can tie this into the whole Dark Enlightenment thing, but like Chomsky believes that like democracy still has elements in it that give like extraordinary power to like the masses, and like the entire system is kind of construed in a way that stops the masses thinking about like how they can actually use the power that like and the opportunities that they have built into the democratic system, and like actually using that to get things like wins on the board for working class people or for like the broad masses. And like the entire system is designed to distract people away from like actually participating, which is what he's mentioned. He's used the P word, but like doing things at a grassroots level and starting movements at a grassroots level to then start to push for actual political change, like put real pressure on politicians to change policy, and then start their own political movements within the system to get like policy changes and all that sort of stuff. And so like Chomsky has like this, you need to start grassroots organizations and you need to start putting pressure on your local politicians. Like that is actually the way that you can really affect politics in a liberal democratic society. You can actually start doing that now. Start a community group, start putting pressure on your local politicians and ramp it up as fucking hard as you can, because at the end of the day, the one thing that separates the politicians from the lobby groups and stuff like that is that like the politicians actually need to get it elected. And so like if they feel like their votes are under threat, they will say to their like the lobby groups and all that sort of stuff, or whoever's like got invested in them politically, they will say, look, you have to slow down because like I need to do this to get elected. Then I can help you, kind of thing. Then I can do whatever you've paid me off to do, Mr. Lobby Group. But like you have to let me get elected first. And so primarily they need to be voted in first. And so like all the power actually comes with people who do the voting. They don't pick the politicians. The system's not designed that way, but they can put a lot of pressure on them and threaten their existence through grassroots organizing. And so like he has a real kind of plan that he puts out, like what is like the little thing that people can actually do next. And like he's like kind of just generally speaking here, which I find surprising. I thought this would like he'd have a little speech prepped in his head and he'd like, oh, this is what you do, that kind of thing. I've been in politics long enough now. This is what you do, people, kind of thing. I was a bit disappointed with his response to this. I do feel like even if he is co-opting the word revolution, he's still drawing people down the path towards further radicalization. I do agree with that. That's why I liked and I said it in the video, like I like the Stop the Oligarchy tour because it brings consciousness to this issue where like people might not have put the words to it before or even tried to articulate it before. There is a problem with oligarchs. Like they actually exist. This is beyond just like, politics and stuff like that. Like there are people, they're a group with their own economic interests and they largely control society. They have a lot of influence and therefore a lot of power. And so like he's drawing attention to that, and like that attention might turn into like what you said, further radicalization, but it might turn into more grassroots activism. And like grassroots activism isn't like just protesting in the street. It's like setting up like organizations that have political agendas of their own and putting pressure on the existing political infrastructure. And which is what I thought he would have said here. Apparently MAGA is banned now. Oh, really? You can't even say MAGA? No, whoa. Okay. Shows how tired he is after all these years. As much as I respect Bernie Sanders, it's sad in a way, but we must maintain hope. People like him and better can appear. I think that's a good point. And it does show, he does seem to be kind of like, he seems tired. He does. That's a good point. Well, if he really is tired, he needs to get out before he does some damage. But this is the problem. Some people are absolutists about it. Yeah. Indoctrination. Also, have you seen the earlier part of the video where he goes into uber capitalists? Yes, I saw that. I thought that was an interesting turn of phrase, actually. What, you criticize Bernie? You're part of the problem. Yeah. I think, like, do you remember what part it was? Did they actually name it here? I think it's about Elon Musk's wealth. Yeah, an uber capitalist. Yeah, let's go to that.
Elon Musk.
Oh, fuck you, Allianz. You asshole.
Owns more wealth than the bottom 52% of America. The reductions acknowledge that. So, I mean, nobody. You talk about your very kind introductions and, talking about things that others don't talk about. How many people will talk about the reality that Elon Musk himself owns more wealth than the bottom 52% of American households?
That's fucking crazy, isn't it? That's 52%. That's like 150 million people, Elon Musk. And like, in a meritocracy, like the American political system, you have to think about like one person, one vote, that ideology, right? And like he talks about super PACs and all that sort of stuff in here. And like the idea that like in America, since they took away, I can't remember what the name of the decision was, but there was a decision that was taken away by the Supreme Court, which kind of just said like in practicing the First Amendments of free speech, people should not be limited in how much they can donate to a political cause, because that's actually part of their expression. If they want to spend millions and millions of dollars supporting a political idea, not a person, but a political idea, then they should be able to express themselves, and that shouldn't be stopped. And so like you have to think about like if money really can buy you political expression so you can influence politics, and someone like Elon Musk owns as much wealth as 150 million people, so one person owning as much as 150 million people, and he's able to what was it, pour $270 million into Trump's campaign indirectly through funding things like PACs and super PACs and all that sort of stuff. Like, he has actual political power that, like, unless 150 million people all agreed on the same thing, you couldn't get the same type of influence and power in that regard. It's an interesting point. Citizens United, that's the one. Thank you. That's the case. Great way to break down dark enlightened philosophy and who these people are. Yes. 150 million of the wealthiest people on Earth. Money is speech. Money is speech, and that's kind of what happened, I guess. Yeah, you Citizens United, that's right.
Is that a moral issue? Are we comfortable with that?
Wow.
It's a simple question. And there are some people who say, hey, yeah, that's okay. It's a dog-eat-dog world. Elon's a brilliant guy. He's a hardworking guy. And other billionaires start their own companies. They're really bold and brave. Fine. They deserve it. And if you are trying to get by on $40,000 a year, well, tough crap.
How do you think Elon feels about it?
I don't know him.
addressed that?
I've only talked to him many years ago, so I don't know him personally. But I'll tell you what I do think. I think there is a new breed of uber capitalists out there who really believe, and this is, and they write about this as well, who really believe that they are superior human beings. You know, I'm telling you, this is the quote-unquote high IQ guys who say, look, we work hard, we're smart, we have started these businesses.
To the victor go the spoils.
Not only that, I think what, that's yes.
Oh,
it's a dog-eat-dog world. I made it.
Yeah.
You didn't make it. Hey, man, that's the way life goes. It's deeper than that. You have some writing on the right, on the far right, which really diminishes.
This is it. He's talking about it. He's talking about it. Oh, whoa. Look who it is. Friday stream, and Mark is back. Just so you know, we played your request earlier, which was Shut Your Mouth by B4DB3. And it was wonderful. So that was our Friday music session, and you missed it. So unless you've been watching in the background, and this is your only chance, but we played your request. So thank you.
Democracy.
But like, you're right. He's talking about the uber capitalists, and like, you know, there's writings going on, there's talk going on in the right sphere about like these people who think they're literally and justifiably better than others. He's mixing internet language and old political language so well to describe it in a way that almost anyone could understand. Yes. And it would be nice if he labeled it then, wouldn't it? Eh? Because like, it's easy to miss though when you just say, you know, uber capitalists who think they're better than everyone else. Like, you know, there's been a lot of rich people out there that have believed they're better than everyone else for a long time for material purposes, based on the fact that they just have more money. But like, these Silicon Valley types are producing like a different ideology just for themselves. It'd be nice if he really, maybe he doesn't fully know it yet. Like, I'm assuming he probably hasn't read up on the Dark Enlightenment exactly. Yeah. So like, maybe he doesn't even know exactly what it's about. Like, because it is pretty fringe, but apparently very influential.
Right on the far right goes. It's deeper than that. You have some writing on the right, on the far right.
Writing on the right.
Which really
maybe he does know.
Democracy.
Diminishes democracy. He's talking about it. Fucking say it so people know what's going on.
And that really the smart and the wealthy and the powerful have the right to rule. So this is not just, oh, I want a tax break. There's nothing new about that.
Yeah.
This is, we have the right. It's the divine, you know, it used to be the divine rights of kings.
Or manifest destiny.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right. Back in the 19th century, the 1850s, you know, I am the king. God made my family king. And sorry, you're starving to death, but that's the way life goes. God told me my family rules. There was some of that mentality.
So there's something about this that's quite interesting that I've seen lately. And it's actually not lately. There is a trend with the ultra wealthy, which is upon their death, a lot of them have decided to give away their money, right?
Some of their money.
Or some. Okay, some of the most prolific.
Chief, the pen is mightier than...
Well, some videos get done so much harder than others. This is outrageous, this is. Look at this guy, eh? It's a working class man.
And, or right?
Some of them,
Or some. Okay, some of the most prolific, right?
I think that was a good point. Thanks for bringing that one up, Nafan, actually, because, like, I forgot he draws this line between uber capitalists and basically the Dark Enlightenment. Wealth and fame dies with you. Arrogance is pointless. That's funny. Yeah, he really does. Is that it? The uber capitalists. Yeah, and then they start talking about the super PAC stuff. Let's have a listen to that.
And or as they get closer to death, they're like, our goal is to give away all our money. Okay, which seems to tell me that they think that there is an issue with them having all that money. If they truly felt entitled to it, like, it seems to me it's an admission that they agree with you. They're like, it's kind of wrong that we should just keep all this in our family. We should probably not have it. Now, they're not, it's almost like Benjamin Franklin freeing his slaves on his death. He's like, you know, he's like, this is wrong, but I don't want to leave it until, you know, I might need some shit and my back hurts. But what do I do? And so when you see billionaires do that, right, or this elite class that you're talking about, do that, is there a part of you that goes, you're getting it, why don't you do that maybe 40 years earlier?
No.
Okay.
Look, I mean, these guys are very competitive. They're very smart. They're very innovative, hardworking. And I really think it's very competitive. And I think they want it all. I really do. And I think if you stop for a moment, you know, and yeah, well, I hope we can talk a little bit about a corrupt campaign finance system.
Please. Yes.
All right. Getting back to the Democrats and the Republicans and all that stuff. Understand, I mean, I'm in the middle of it. I work in Washington, D.C. So you're just using Musk again as an example. He's only one. I don't mean to pick on Mr. Musk, but the guy contributes because of a broken and corrupt campaign finance system, which as a result of Citizens United Supreme Court decision, you're familiar with that, allows billionaires to start super PACs.
Can you really quickly just tell the audience exactly what it is? Because I feel like we hear these words like Citizens United, and a lot of people, like, we just...
And super PACs.
Yeah, so we just kind of pretend that we know what it is.
Okay.
But...
Wealth hoarders with class consciousness concerning the fact their greed will be their end. Real surprise. Not even sarcastic. They want it all. Ain't that the truth?
We have the First Amendment that says you have freedom of speech. Of
course.
Okay. So wealthy individuals, in a case called Citizens United, I don't remember all the details, basically said, look, we had at that point, Citizens United, I think is 15, 20 years, that decision from the Supreme Court decision. So people go into the court and say, look, I have a First Amendment right to tell the people of America how I feel about an issue or a candidate.
Absolutely.
I don't like Andrew, and I want to spend $20 million on television ads telling people what a jerk he is, okay?
Making me feel like Jamal Bowman.
All right, that's another story. All right. And the Supreme Court says, no, we have campaign finance. There's campaign finance law which limits the amount of money you can spend on a campaign.
So there's already a law in place.
There's a law in place.
Legislation that said you cannot do that.
That's what Citizens United did. It said the Supreme Court ruled that billionaires, that advertising is freedom of speech, and you can't limit my speech. So if I want to spend $100 million on TV ads, I have the right to do it. They said, you're right. So the issue is democracy versus billionaires being able to spend unlimited sums of money. Supreme Court went with that. And then the form it took was what's called a super PAC. You start an organization, Americans for Freedom, okay? And billionaires can put as much money as they want into that. That organization then runs ads on television. It does political stuff. That's what it's about. So
like, just to confirm, okay, PACs and super PACs. So it's like political action committee, I'm pretty sure is the acronym for PAC. So a PAC is a political action committee that is allowed to take money in and directly fund political candidates and politicians. But like, it's got limitations on it, like he said, in law. So like, there's limitations on how much money you can actually give to a candidate, like directly as a PAC. So if there's limitations, let's say the limitation is like $5,000 during a political campaign that you can donate to a politician or someone running for office. There is this thing now that's created because they overturned this decision of Citizens United. There is now this thing called super PACs, and so super PACs are a super version of the Political Action Committee. So it's an organization that collects money, but it's not allowed to directly give that money to a political candidate, to a politician. So what it does instead is it pools money and like fights over issues. And so like he's used a perfect example. So like instead of directly supporting like Donald Trump, you use your millions and millions of dollars to start an ad campaign saying that like Joe Biden or Kamala Harris are communists, are dirty communists, and they eat babies. And so like you start like sending out all of these ads like about like how evil the Democrats are and how they're all baby eating commies or something like that. So you can spend your money in other ways, and that's political expression because like you've got a political belief and you're spending money to have that political belief spread across like traditional media, social media. You print flyers, you give it out at town meetings, whatever. But like there's a separation there. And so like what happens is there's all these PACs out there, so not super PACs, that have all this money and they've got a limitation on how much money they can give to a political candidate. So then they fund super PACs. So then they donate some of their money onto super PACs, and these super PACs are, like I said, they're war chests of like hundreds of millions of dollars, and they can go off and like, you know, run political assassination campaigns against political rivals and political movements and all that type of stuff. I'm pretty sure he goes into the APAC issue after this. Now, I thought this was really interesting because like I'm not really across exactly all of that sort of stuff, so I did a bit of research on it. But like it's an interesting situation because prior to that decision, like don't get me wrong, there was still a lot of people like politically supporting campaigns and stuff like that, but it was very limited how you could do it. Like the constraints were there. It was much harder. And now, ever since that decision, like really, there's a lot of you have to have tens and tens of millions of dollars, if not hundreds of millions of dollars behind you if you want to run in a presidential campaign. It's really not open to the public anymore like it was once upon a time.
Bottom line, though, most importantly, is if you are a billionaire, you can put as much money as you want into a super PAC. And in Musk's case, he spent $270 million to help Donald Trump get elected president. Do Democrats have billionaires putting money into super PACs? Absolutely. All right. What does that mean in real life? This is what it means. Right now, we're dealing with a bill called the Reconciliation Bill. It's a fancy Washington term for a very big bill, which will have a lot of stuff in it. In any case, if
just checking
Man,
this
we
is the
getting
lowest
hammered
price.
on this one.
We check and beat competitors'
It's a
prices.
flagrant podcast. Damn.
Republican stands up and says bill, which will have a lot of stuff in it. In any case, if a Republican stands up and says, you know what, in the House of Representatives, I don't like this bill because, you know, it's giving tax breaks to very wealthy people and it's going to cut Medicaid and cut nutrition programs. It's a bad bill. What do you think happens the day after that Republican stands up and says he opposes it?
Those super PACs organize and they primary out those politicians.
Exactly.
Now, and how effective is that?
It is enormously effective. If you have, right now you're a Republican.
Yeah.
You got to.
Wait, what?
All right, no, I don't mean you. I'm being in
it's going to go
general
viral.
All right. So you have two elements. Trump is enormously popular within the Republican base.
Yeah.
Elon Musk has unlimited sums of money, right?
Double whammy.
Double whammy. So it is very hard for any Republican to sustain
to stand up and authentically speak their mind. All right, guys, let's take a break for a second. Talking about the...
Boo, we already get enough ads anyway. Not your term, buddy. Flagrant man, whatever your name is. Andrew. Yeah, interesting. Wait till you get to the in-video ad. Oh my God, I laugh so hard. Like, perfect product. when you get an 80-year-old in the studio. There's a number of them. They have inbuilt ads in here. Acorns. Yeah. Interesting. Well, look, we've given some sunshine to Bernie Sanders. And, like, I don't want to be a Bernie basher. But, like, you know, it is quite clear that he is very beholden to the needs of the Democratic Party machine. Like, I know he's independent, but, like, it's really quite interesting how he's still kind of tied to exactly what they do. And so, like, Jag had put an article in the Discord, and you can go and check it out if you want. Ask him again if you need to find it. And it's an article from, like, the 90s, I believe. It's written by a socialist from a university who did an investigation into Bernie's secret deals with the Democratic Party. And so what happened in the 90s, I'm pretty sure, was that Bernie he'd been running as a Democrat for a while and then went independent. And basically there was a war between him and a Democratic candidate. And basically it wasn't good for either Bernie or the Democratic Party. It's an ad for the blue pills. Yeah, basically it wasn't good for the Democratic Party or Bernie to keep fighting against each other for this seat in Vermont. And so basically they came to an agreement. Bernie was like, look, I will stop, rallying against the Democrats, but you have to stop running candidates against me, like meaningful candidates. You can still have people in the running, but like I don't want your top tier candidates running against me. And like I'll make sure that like I vote with you on certain issues, and I make sure that I will support you in this way and that way. And so there's been this unwritten agreement between him and the Democratic Party in Vermont for 30 years now for him to continue. And so like he is dedicated to the Democratic Party so they don't oppose him in any substantive way, and he can keep his position. And like he, as part of that quid pro quo, he's got to do certain things for them too. And so like while he's independent and while he does, spout a lot of radical stuff and do some pretty things that are like pretty out there, I guess you would say, from a usual Democratic politician, this agreement does bind him to the Democratic Party largely. And so he's got to kind of do what they say for the most part. And so like all I'm saying, if you're a liberal kind of thing, like an American liberal, that's probably a pretty good deal for you and you're happy with that. Like, because, he pushes the envelope a bit and like, it keeps the Democratic Party a little bit more honest. But like, if you're looking at this from a revolutionary perspective, that is not what you're looking for in a politician working within the system. You really want them to kind of challenge the system and have the freedom and the autonomy to be able to do that. He does go into what he's doing behind the scenes, promote as many people to run for positions as they can. Yeah, which is interesting in light of that conversation. So like, yes, he is trying to support people. I remember him saying, black people, white people, gay people, straight people. He supports a lot of people and tries to get them into the political scene. And I get that, but like his history is like he's actually chopped a lot of liberal candidates within Vermont and killed them off with his secret deal from the Democratic Party. So he's actually killed a lot of potentially good politicians that could have come up through the system and challenged his seat and kept him a little bit more honest. But like the deal between him and the Democrats has kind of stopped any like political opposition to him and allowed him to basically be safe where he is. And so like in light of the fact that he doesn't really have any opposition, he's been able to play it safe a little bit more. Like if he was being challenged by the Democratic Party and still winning against them, I reckon he would have been more extreme and more of a threat to the establishment and like being able to do more damage long term than playing it safe. That's just my opinion on that. Like if he was a real outsider, he would have been able to do a little bit more damage. But like maybe the Democratic Party machine would have just chopped him off like 10, 20 years ago, and we wouldn't even be speaking about him right now. Maybe. We never know. You'll never know. You'll never know. But like, yes. I'm going to leave it there for today. We've looked at some good propaganda. We've covered quite a bit because there was a few things that I wanted to like catch people up on. Oh, is this the thing that got censored before? If you watch some of the video coming out of the rallies, they are hat-wearing MAGA guys standing there and nodding along. Interesting. I can't believe you can't say MAGA. And you got blocked for that. Like, he's not running again, so it's endgame for him. Yeah, and like, you know what? Like, in true endgame form, like, go out with a bang, bro. Like, you know, do something crazy and like, you know, say some shit and like, you know, promote some people and like, you know, just he could have handled that situation before and really, really done a lot to help the situation, I think. And like help people understand that their feelings about everything is true, like when it comes to Gaza and all that sort of stuff. Straight up, it's a dick pill ad. Did they get blocked as well? Yeah, it did. Like, I can't see it over here. It's an ad for the blue pills. Yeah, and you got an 80-year-old sitting right there. Second last comment. He's not running again, so it's endgame for him. Oh, wait. It seems like he's attempting a Pope Francis and putting the right people in the right places, that it doesn't matter what happens when he's gone. The machinery is in place. Well, I hope that's true. I hope that's true, actually. I hope, yeah, because he does mention that he's bringing, like, people or helping to promote people. And I hope he's doing that in his seat then, because by account of this investigation into his little deal 30 years ago, he's killed off a lot of political, like, up-and-coming, like, kind of left-wing and liberal types coming through in opposition to him. So I hope that's true. I hope he definitely is doing that. I hope he is. But yes, thank you everyone for your interactions. It looked like the internet held today, which was not like what it was doing yesterday. Fuck, it was horrible yesterday. We got kicked off so many times. So yeah, thank you for powering through this propaganda session. And we will be back on Monday with another live stream. So just a quick shout out to 4IS, Nafan, who turned into Indoctrinathan midstream, Ollie Atlas, thank you very much for your inputs and your valuable insight as our American correspondent today. Mark coming in at the end there. Big shout out to Card Picker for, you know, truly trying to stir the pot. You're going to have to try a little bit better next time, though, my friend. And a little bit more intelligibly as well, so we can actually understand what you're going on about. But yes, thank you, everyone. And like I said before, enjoy your weekend. I really hope it is a time that capital cannot touch you and you get to enjoy life for what it is, something that is outside of the capitalistic economy. So enjoy human life outside of an attachment to our needs of production. Thank you, everyone. And yes, we'll be back next Monday on YouTube for another live stream. So until then, please remember, I am, you are, we are a MysterE. See you next time.